problems, these are signs. So she sent her to a physician who promptly put her on steroids. This lady was a known osteoporosis, and for a month she went through that treatment, nothing changed at all. Then we sat down, we called up the gastroenterologist, said, we studied her, we said that B12 gets all the fashion and the news, D3 is left at the background. The B12 deficiency symptoms are more manifest. So that's why she was facing problems with B12 deficiency, which got attributed to D toxicity. You cannot objectively change a person without deficiency. Her D levels were 5. So we counseled her, put her back on supplements. Moment we added the B12 component to that, all her symptoms regressed within 10-15 days. In a month, she was back to normal.
But Dr. Phadke, then in these patients, should we also be monitoring the serum calcium and serum PTH?
See, when we are talking about toxicity, as
If
I
at
made a
all.
point earlier,
Yeah,
no hormone can be assessed on its own. See, even when you say it is vitamin D deficiency, it's like saying that the T4 is low without talking of T3 and TSH. It's the same about vitamin D. When you say vitamin D is low, it is low in relation to what? I mean, what is the other parameter which is making you sure that the vitamin D is really low for this patient? Now, there have been various methods proposed. One is to look at PTH, and a lot of problem has occurred in lot of very good testing. People have not been able to show a very good correlation between the two. And one of the foremost researchers in this, Dr. Sudhakar Rao, who is from India and who works now at the Ford Foundation, has said repeatedly, cautioned against interpreting vitamin D and just starting treatment. Because, so that's one thing about vitamin D deficiency. The same thing about vitamin D toxicity. Vitamin D level alone does not mean toxicity.
Okay.
And toxicity of vitamin D will manifest as hypercalcemia. Unless hypercalcemia comes in, just treating the vitamin D level is not going to make any difference.
Okay. But then do we again consider consider changing our concept of reference values to a functional reference value, where unless the serum PTH is showing an increase, we do not consider the patient to be whatever deficient,
That is also
insufficient,
fraught with a lot of
hypo.
danger, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of patients with vitamin D deficiency who do not manifest raised PTH. There are several reasons for that. Some of them have associated magnesium deficiency. Some of them are, it has been shown that if you have chronic vitamin D deficiency, you may not necessarily have PTH elevations. Some of them have normal free vitamin D levels, which again is not vitamin D deficiency, therefore they don't manifest as PTH. So this whole
We are going
thing
to
is,
have a whole discussion on PTH, calcium, and
Yeah,
vitamin D just post lunch. There were
But the point is, what he is saying is that the level has to be interpreted in relation
Sure.
to the outcome.
yes, sir.
And there is no consideration of
There is no
outcome anywhere
consideration of
here.
outcome.
and
here.
PTH.
Yeah, and clinicians get completely bowled over by low value. They must do something. Then as Ashish said, then we create another problem. So that means ki more testing, so patient gets very impressed. Ki we are now monitoring him. And then we gave him a treatment to treat the problem which we created. This is called iatrogenic.
Yes, sir.
So lot of nutritional deficiency. I am responsible for B12 problem. And I am the one who has vehemently opposed any interpretation of B12 levels today before I actually show some benefit. And B12 problem is if you give a large mega dose,
So we will need to
yeah,
proceed
it
on
has
vitamin D.
actually a brain effect which helps everyone.
Yes, sir.
So I think important lessons are key to relate a level to the outcome, which in that 5 classification is not done at all. That's what he was trying to say, ki that is only related to bone and parathyroid.
Just interesting point, Ranjan, as you said,
Yeah.
up to the age of 55, I didn't take even B12 or vitamin D. Okay, so when you said you have to take vitamin B12.
No, I didn't say it.
So
No.
we started taking vitamin
No,
B12.
no,
we
I didn't say
estimated
it.
our B12.
Yeah.
It was on the lower side of normal.
Yes.
Then we started raising it. So last
I
5
said
years.
young girls in a population who are
So we
B12
all-
deficient,
all-
their next generation will benefit if we improve their B12. You are not a young girl.
These,
Sir, can we
these
proceed?
words were not underlined for us
All
that
my
time.
research is about intergenerational young. That's
Yeah.
why Lily is not part of it. Yeah.
Sir, can we
I
proceed?
think,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a second.
these are basic issues, and we can get completely misled by so-called science.
So now after 60.
And which is what she's trying to remind us, we must go to science.
Yes, sir. We
Yeah.
need
I'm
to go
telling
back
her-
because we are falling short
Yeah.
of time. We really
No,
need
agreed.
to go back
I'll
to
just
this.
now say one sentence. Ki when I bought Cecil Loeb's textbook in second year of MBBS, my father wrote a sentence on the front page. And that was someone called Lord Carlyle. He said, God save me from those who put knowledge before common sense. And this I have followed for last 40 years since he taught me. I am reminded of that again and again at each step which we are interacting.
So the same common sense we applied, and after 60 we are taking vitamin D. So what I am saying is it's the mouth of word of mouth that has created these. So we are studying those, and the further trials will probably highlight.
Some
So
of the
we'll
questions.
have a summary of this.
Yeah, some of the questions we had received regarding vitamin D testing from people I had asked was whether fasting is necessary for this when we take the sample. I have not come across any article, literature, kit insert which is saying that fasting is necessary. So we can assume safely that we don't require a fasting sample. People have asked about the stability also. So vitamin D seems to be a stable, is stable at 2 to 8 degrees for almost 12 days. The clinical indications for doing 125 dihydroxy vitamin D are very few. They are renal failure, rare inborn errors of metabolism, and some of the granulomatous diseases. Why I have brought up this point is because many labs face misordering of vitamin D. In fact, most of the prescriptions which come to labs have all sorts of things written on them. 125 hydroxy vitamin D, 125 dihydroxy, D2, D3, 25 hydroxy vitamin D2, 25 hydroxy vitamin D3, so on and so forth. So for all practical purposes, like what we have already brought out, for almost most of our patients, what we need to do is a 25 hydroxy vitamin D level. And very rarely we need to do this. So sometimes you may have to actually call back looking at the prescription whether the clinician has actually asked for this particular test. The 125 dihydroxy vitamin D has a lesser half-life. It is there in lower concentrations, and the blood levels are tightly regulated by, again, calcium, PTH, and phosphate, which we will discuss a little later. Ashish already mentioned that there is a huge number of articles since 2000, and it is probably the most intensely investigated nutrient of the 21st century. So a few articles which I saw. This is Marwa RK 2011, which is, he clearly says that more than 50% of his, more than 50% of the healthy Indians aged 50 years and above showed so-called vitamin D status hypo or deficiency or whatever. This is another